Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar in association with PaxLife. We will be focusing on the next level of onboard passenger experience. This webinar is completely live and our speakers are really keen to answer your questions, so please submit them at any point during the presentation and we will answer them as we get to the end of the session. It is now my pleasure to introduce Delphine Ehret, Senior Marketing and Business Development Manager at PaxLife Innovations. Over to you, Delphine.
Okay, thanks, Kiana. Thanks, Delphine, to enable to host us this webinar. Hello to everybody. Thank you for joining PaxLife Innovations. Ralf, Cabos, and actually myself also for the next 40 minutes. Also to understand what we do and what we bring to onboard passenger entertainment for the rail and the public transit industry. Yeah, okay, good. So my name is Delphine Ehret. I'm handling marketing and supporting business development, as Katrina mentioned, for PaxLife Innovations. I will cover points 1 and 2 that you see on the right of the slide, briefly developing on passengers' expectation, related challenges for the transport industry, and how to answer them leveraging smartphones and applications. Then I'm joined with PaxLife Innovation CEO Ralf Cabos, who will then follow on points 3 and 4. He will explain what is unique about the way our entertainment solutions are thought and built to guarantee uninterrupted and high-resolution content streaming for passengers. He will also introduce how to easily extend services with the example of passenger information system, thanks to our railSTACK cloudedge platform. And then we will be joined at the end by our colleague, Dr. Stefan Schinkel, leading the technical team here at PaxLife Innovations for the Q&A session. Okay, next slide. Yeah, okay. So please let me allow you, first of all, to give you a few words about PaxLife. We are currently a startup based in Potsdam, Germany, 30 kilometers far from Berlin. But we are originally coming from the aviation industry, in which the team has actually extensive experience. PaxLife was evolving in the in-flight entertainment sector in aerospace before, satellite communication and maintenance data analysis. The company did not only deliver content, but also design and operated systems in a piece of aircraft. And at that time, to meet the challenges of how to bring content on board in an innovative way and new logic, PaxLife has developed a cloudedge open platform that is at the base of our entertainment solutions today. And we will present you how to guarantee passengers with a high-quality media experience on board with optimized 4G use. So let's begin the webinar. Well, it's obvious that the digital transformation of our world is also impacting the public transport industry, of course. Smartphones penetration rate worldwide is close to 45%, and in Germany it's close to 80%. So it means that everybody is actually using and having a smartphone. Passengers are therefore increasing expectations in regards to their digital experience while being in public transport. In fact, they want to take out the vehicle out of the equation. They do not want to see a difference between accessing the apps they like when they are at home or when they are commuting or traveling. In fact, they expect a consistent digital journey. In addition, the content consumption behavior is evolving towards a higher volume of content with videos or streaming, and this has been supported by the technical evolution of the devices, of course. This translates into an increasing volume of data to be consumed also. And so from a public transport industry, point of view, if we want actually to increase passenger satisfaction, if we want to achieve that the passengers are feeling comfortable with their devices while they are traveling, well, in fact, the performance and the quality of what passengers are getting is really key. In addition, we know that COVID-19 pandemic has hit the public transport industry very hard. And in terms of context, whereas a few years ago, the onboard experience was gaining importance as one tool, in fact, to compete against other modes of transport, like cars or like air travel. The current context has actually emphasized the importance of providing more information and additional services to passengers during their journey to bring back confidence in public transport. So for the public transport, what are the challenges generated by the facts that we described in the previous slide? The first one will be that the availability of the bandwidth on board coming from the outside is limited and is shared by the passengers as well as an increasing number of embedded systems. A second one is that a reliable connection during the entire journey is still today something difficult to achieve. We know that the coverage is sometimes not very good and even missing in some remote areas. And then the third challenge, probably in our view, the most important one is that there is also a need for redefining the passenger entertainment on board in order to meet what the passengers are really waiting for. The exact same digital experience as if they were at home, their digital home, in fact. And this is not really going to be achieved by providing a platform of content managed by a third-party provider, but how are we going to do that? Well, in our view, an attractive entertainment offer. So by attractive, as we say, I mean answering passenger expectations, should therefore allow to bring on board the same digital environment than at home with the same quality, and so leveraging on the passengers' devices and the apps they already have installed on their devices. But then, in regard to the bandwidth capacity issue, in order to optimize 4G use, how can the full functionality of media apps be preserved while minimizing internet bandwidth access? And this is what we are going to discover. And I let now the stage to PaxLife Innovations CEO, Mr. Ralf Cabos, the digital stage.
Thank you, Delphine. Thank you, Delphine, for this introduction to explain talk about the passenger expectations and the key challenge. That is, in fact, how do I achieve a situation where I can make the media apps that the passengers love and that they have stored on their phone work the same way in the train as they do when I'm at home. Our answer for this is a product we call PaxCDN. CDN is a well-known acronym standing for Content Delivery Network. And that is commonly used in the internet service industry in any case to make sure that app performance is as expected. Now, in our particular case, we are deploying this type of technology onto trains. Let me explain how this works. So first of all, what you see in this little sketch is the classical situation that you have in a train that is fitted to a Wi-Fi 4G. You see the smartphones used by the passengers. The passengers use the media apps they have installed on their phone. The media apps are connected through the Wi-Fi 4G connection that has been provided by the service provider that you have selected. And obviously, if I have 5 users watching a video, I have 5 times the bandwidth I'm consuming. If I happen to have 100 users on the train, 100 concurrent users, I'm using up 100 times the bandwidth. Now, as you can see in the back of the internet, on the land side, so to say, in any case, the industry is deploying CDN technology. But the important point is that the pipe coming out of the train needs to be able to carry this load, and obviously someone needs to pay for the bandwidth. So let's take a look at how we, in fact, address this situation. We are adding one additional element. This is this green block that you see there. It's in fact two things. There is a railSTACK server. railSTACK server is the cloudedge platform that PaxLife has developed. And on the railSTACK server, you have the PaxCDN service embedded. How does it work in this particular case? You have a media app installed on the phone of a passenger. The media app will in fact contact the router and in fact the CDN service, and the content that the media app is requesting is seamlessly provided from the onboard connection, even though 4G remains available. And in fact, the entire bandwidth the train has as part of the Wi-Fi that is installed remains available for other uses. So the effect of this is that the media app receives full intranet bandwidth performance in such a way that the smartphone user actually cannot tell the difference. So let's take a look at how this will actually deploy in practice. So I'll take you through an example. What you see here is part of our railSTACK platform. railSTACK is a cloudedge platform that allows new services, new digital services to be deployed to trains. So we'll take you through a brief sequence of showing how to activate a PaxCDN service on a train. In this particular case, we are looking at fictitious service. Obviously, it's not on a live train while we speak. And in this case, it's a regional express train RE63. You see two types of services that are ready for deployment here, which is an RD Mediathek service and a DLF Audiothek services. Both are popular media apps provided by German public TV and radio. So what you actually do is you add the service that you want to a project. So in this particular case, in this example, we are adding the DLF Audiothek service to a project. And as soon as we have done that, we can then on the cloud assign that to a fleet. In this case, to the fleet of RE63 trains, and in fact, then automatically with a click deploy.
Okay.
So let's take another look at how this then feels like for the passenger on the smartphone. So we have here a smartphone that, just for the sake of demonstration, is in a Wi-Fi of a train that we have disconnected the train from the internet. So normally you would be connected and share the bandwidth, but to demonstrate that the apps actually continues to work the same way with and without internet network, we are disconnecting it here. So let's take a look at how this looks like. So I'm on the phone, you see the actual app. That is sitting on the passenger smartphone. Now I can open and see the networks I'm connected with. I'm connected to a local network called PaxLife, and I'm just testing this by connecting to Google, just to show to you that in fact we are not connected to the internet at all. So obviously this will come back with an error message, because in this particular case, just to demonstrate how this works, we're not connected to the internet. So let's use the app as it has been provided by the media provider. This is the original DLF Audiothek app. And in fact, you can click any
Kollege
content.
Volker Mrazek berichtet schon seit rund 30 Jahren über Klimathemen.
Wie kriegst du das hin, dass du dich nicht ekelst? Ja, man wächst.
Deutschlandfunk Nova.
So you can see that, in fact, the original app works without any modification to the app whatsoever. And obviously, this does not just work for Deutschlandfunk AudioTech app. In fact, for virtually any app you can operate using such a PAX CDN service.
Mm-hmm.
So let us summarize and go through the key features of the PAX CDN service. The most important point, I think, is that passengers, in fact, do not need to install any additional app on their phone. Also, they do not need to get involved with a portal that they may not know. Also, there is no content management required. In fact, the media apps the passengers love and use work seamlessly the same way as they work outside of the train, inside of the train, no matter whether the train is connected, it's not connected, or let's say connection is limited. Now, the other important point is this is a service that comes in addition to your existing Wi-Fi. So in fact, you have bought your Wi-Fi systems from whatever vendor in the market, and I'm sure you're a happy user of your Wi-Fi 4G. Now, in fact, this PAX CDN service, you can simply add, it's complementary to the existing solution. So at the end result for the media user, it's interruption-free no matter what. So there is guaranteed service levels in video delivery, in audio delivery. As I said before, it can be extended to virtually any media app. And in fact, it frees up the bandwidth that you have on your train for any interactive purpose that passengers may want to use. So the net benefit is increased passenger satisfaction. In fact, you can also integrate it with the passenger information system. So let's say what I just explained, in fact, tackles this aspect of stored content applications, MediaTek, AudioTek kind of content. But what if the media app supports live streaming? So is there a way to handle that? And yes, there is. I can introduce you to our PAX Stream and PaxStack Plus services. Now, this particular service is targeted at uninterrupted live radio streaming. Let's take another look at how this works on the technical side. So first of all, we have the train architecture as we know it. You have the passenger smartphones, you have the 4G connectivity. Obviously, in this case, the difference to before is that we are providing, or the passengers are using live streams. Obviously, this is a little bit more susceptible to interruption because even a small interruption will lead to an issue in terms of my live stream feed. But of course, the same comment applies as before. If I have multiple stream users, obviously I consume more and more bandwidth. And as I said, 4G really needs to work without interruption. How do we address this challenge? In fact, the concept is similar to before. Now, the railSTACK server has a PAX stream component. So effectively what it does is it receives the live stream only once. And when the end user app is requesting a live stream, no matter how many apps are using and are wanting to access the stream at the same time, they get served locally, again, in a completely transparent fashion. So this means that the app doesn't notice, the passenger doesn't notice, it just works without interruption. But of course, there's one small caveat here. If indeed the train travels through an area where there are gaps in coverage, well, clearly that live stream won't work. So what we have done there is we have developed a companion technology for audio streaming. We have a DAP+ component. This DAP+ component, in fact, receives the radio streams. In fact, all radio streams simultaneously that are available on the local DAP+ radio network, and merges them while the train is moving with the 4G feed. Now, if you combine both, and there's a little bit of clever artificial intelligence logic in terms of knowing where the train is and where weak spots are, etc., but that goes into a little bit too much of the detail. So the net result is that the stream indeed is completely uninterrupted. Let's take a look at how this looks like. We go back to our smartphone. If you can switch us over, please.
Oh.
So you've seen the screen before. In fact, now we have the DLF audiothek. We've actually selected that as an example because the DLF audiothek not only has podcasts, but it also has live audio streams. So so we're opening the DLF audiothek. And in fact, you see the 3 buttons on top. These are the live radio stream buttons. The live programming. You switch the channels. In fact, you get full DAP+ quality. So this works obviously in the context of any media app. So if the media app supports live streaming, then it can be made to work by PaxStream and PaxLife. But it also actually has, there is a second capability we can offer. In fact, since we acquire all the live streams from the radio signals, we can in fact map whatever kind of live stream there is into an existing portal, or in fact.
Finde ich ja immer so den Hintergrund.
So that you can see, this is the radio signals that are sitting on the multiplex that this is tuned to. And again, the same attributes of uninterrupted transmissions are in fact applying to whatever live radio channel is available in the network. So let's go next step into the summary to just summarize what this PaxStream and PaxLife can provide. So number one feature is very important: premium quality. The service is based, in fact, as I mentioned, on just a single live stream. So in terms of 4G bandwidth or in terms of using multiple SIM cards, it's much easier to, in fact, provide the 4G infrastructure to pass through a continuous live stream. It's at maximum quality. It's actually at DAP+ quality. And in fact, it's not just works for one stream, it works for the entire set of streams that are available on a national network or regional network or whatever it may be. The other important point is it is not just one radio channel like in a car radio, it is all live streams that are available, as I said, in the region, in the country. So whichever passenger wants to listen to this or to that, they can tune in as they want. Of course, this would be probably the obvious next question. Does it also work for TV? In principle, yes. Right now, we haven't got it ready yet. We're working on that, and we will certainly be offering that in the future for live TV streams as well. Now, another important point is there's many ways to deploy this. You could deploy this as a standalone service, but if you are providing, let's say, passenger information systems, you can simply integrate that into your offering. As I mentioned before, with the Pax CDN service, this is actually a component that can be integrated into other people's systems, into the railway operator systems, etc. On the PaxLife Plus side, the additional benefits is the complementary transmission path. In fact, it's the combination of the 4G and what you get over the air. And the important point there is that the system is a bit more clever than even a car radio, because in the train we have the advantage, we run on a track, we know where we are, we know where we're heading, so the system self-tunes to adjust all the necessary parameters to give you the optimum, completely interruption-free transmission. And the typical, depending obviously on the environment or where we are, but the typical number of channels the system carries is up to 40 radio channels in parallel. Maybe just one word of thanks at this point. This technology actually was developed in conjunction with Deutschlandradio. Deutschlandradio is a public broadcaster in Germany, and we've designed and developed and tested that together with Deutschlandradio. So at this point, let me make one additional step and go back to this topic railSTACK. We had mentioned before that the Pax CDN product and the Pax Stream and PaxLife all run on railSTACK. So I'd just like to explain a little bit more about the railSTACK cloudedge platform. What does it do, and what additional benefit do I have in terms of easily expanding digital services on my train? Now, railSTACK as a cloudedge platform, you can imagine as something like an Amazon cloud service that you know very well from the cloud, in a shrink version brought into your train. It can be installed on virtually any server in the train. It should be a server that's running Linux, but apart from that, it can be, from a hardware point of view, pretty much anything would work. Now, there's two components the solution has. There is a cloud component. You see this sketched in the top right-hand side. This is where you develop and integrate using continuous integration, continuous deployment. This means that you've seen this user interface before. You're building projects, you are linking services, you are managing deployment. You have a component installed on the train. In fact, on that server, it can be any entertainment systems provider server, it doesn't really matter, as I mentioned. You install railSTACK, and then railSTACK sees the IP-capable environment around it. So as I mentioned before, in this case of entertainment, obviously it would be linked to the Wi-Fi system so that passengers can use PaxStream and PaxCDN. And then let's take one other example, and we look at this question of passenger information system. So let's assume you have IP-based displays in your train to show where the train is heading. So let's take another look at our platform. We've seen this before. And in fact, we're now looking at a fictitious subway line U8. And we're looking at the question of updating the traveling displays, the indicator displays. I just want to demonstrate to you how simple and easy it is to add additional digital services from third parties and deploy them at a single click. Now we have three iterations of little project here for you. You actually see already popping up on the bottom left-hand side the display, the travel progress display for the passenger. You see this little screen. This is kind of a simulation screen. So as you're integrating on your cloud platform, you can actually see how the system will display in your train. And you can see as we are building projects on the screen right now. In fact, there is a second version where we have added a digital service by a third party. In this particular case, it is a bicycle rental company that in fact relays the information about how many bicycles are available at that train station, at the next train station, so it could be integrated on the display as the train is pulling into the station. You've just seen the little symbol that was added there. So a software from a completely different party, integrated into the product, deployed to your trains. In fact, it's a matter of a couple of days of software work. The deployment is with a single click, and voila, it's there. Now let's add one more stop. Let's assume maybe this is not a practical application, but this is for demonstration purposes only. We're adding advertisement now. So that's yet from another source, and in fact, it's also dynamically driven and updated. So let us just add an advertisement service to your environment, and you will see in a moment that in fact the display that we've had before with the bicycles and the progress of the traveling time, there it is, has the advertisement popping up and indicating. So this is just to explain the capability of railSTACK as a platform. Obviously today, in terms of passenger experience, our main focus is on providing the infrastructure to enhance the benefits of Wi-Fi 4G. But in the same way as the systems on board are connecting to many other periphery, you can use the power of the cloudedge data center to do whatever you'd like to do. It's like, as I said, as easy to operate as a cloud service. So this brings me to the end of the demonstration, I guess. So I would like to thank you first of all for listening and watching, and
maybe this is a Q&A session.
Yes. So maybe that's a good opportunity. We have some time left to take questions and see whether there's anything we can answer. Maybe I'll swap the seats and get the technical expert here. So Stefan.
Thanks a lot, for your explanation.
Thank you.
So we've had a few questions come in, but there's still time if you want to submit more questions for Delphine to answer. So the first question is, what do application providers need to do to adapt their apps?
Yeah, I'll take this. So effectively, application providers have to do nothing in terms of adjusting their front end or back end. This is our explicit focus, to make the integration as easy and as smooth as possible, and to minimize any costs for potential application providers. In particular, that the app that you have shown, that we have seen, the Deutschland.Audiothek, that we deploy, this is completely unchanged. There is not a single change request being sent to either the backend or the front end team for Deutschlandfunk, so this looks completely unchanged.
Yeah, on my side, yes, I don't want to ask. I mean, you're the technical expert, so no, but yeah.
Fantastic. And the next question is, how can you scale the solution? Is it possible?
Yeah, so for scaling behavior, we have always to take care of two things, like what they say, the horizontal scaling and the vertical scaling. So the vertical scaling effectively just means the railSTACK platform that powers all the services that you've just seen in itself can run on very small hardware. Indeed, we have integration targets as small as Raspberry Pis that go in industry grade quality for about $50 or something. And depending on the load you will bring on the system, you can ramp it up to AI capable servers that we also deploy. This can be strictly tailored to the customer's need. So effectively, depending on how much resources you need on board of the vehicle, you can scale the underlying hardware, and the railSTACK platform will transparently scale with that. But as I said, there's hardly any hardware requirements in order to run the pure railSTACK. In terms of horizontal scaling, obviously our cloud platform, so the cloud backend that manages all the remotely deployed nodes, scales at the level that the cloud service provider scales. So yes, the scaling limit in the horizontal is about infinity.
So the next question is whether you already have projects in the rail industry already live or that you're sort of implementing. Are you able to share anything with us?
We're currently going live with a regional rail provider here in Germany. We're currently fitting a sizable fleet for them in order to bring in initial step the Deutschlandfunk application on the trains. We have further media/entertainment apps that we're currently in negotiation or in closing negotiations with the application providers. And the rollout is scheduled starting Q1 of next year. We had a bit of a hiccup, as you can all imagine, due to the Corona crisis. That delays the physical, because at one point we actually have to go to the train and physically install the servers. After that, we're completely hands-free, since all the systems work entirely autonomously and don't need any local adjustments or touching. So yes, the go live for this project is in Q1, and we will effectively scale with the offerings that this rail provider brings.
Yeah, we said that we know more in 2021.
Yeah, maybe just to add from the side, we actually had a live trial the year before. So maybe just to add.
Yes, so as I said, so we're rolling out to production. The trial phase has been closed, it has been successful. We had a successful testing phase in the beginning of this year, and effectively at the time we were about to fit the trains, there was a halt due to the current Corona crisis that sadly hasn't ceased yet. But the launch for production is starting in Q1 next year.
Okay, fantastic. So the next question is about how you price the service. So yeah, people are interested to understand that.
Okay, then let me jump in from the side. It's less of a technical question. It really depends on the scenario we are looking at. In fact, if the scenario is that we have an existing system, an existing server, and we just deploy the software, then we are typically coming in as a software as a service. So it's effectively a subscription pricing with assistance, where we assist our partner or the railway operator to install and integrate. Now, in the case of, let's say, if you have a scenario where, let's say, there is an existing infrastructure and an additional server needs to be added, we can also offer the service including the box, so including the server. Then obviously it's the classical, there is a one-time price for the server, and there's ongoing service fee. Now, this ongoing service fee includes everything, because not just from a licensing point of view, but more importantly, you're providing a live service. The app providers obviously all involved, and their service levels attached to that.
Okay, fantastic. So the next question is slightly more technical, but it's the idea of the market size for DAB versus DVB on board.
Okay, that is a very special question. I mean, well, we are, in terms of the technology we are supporting today, we have focused on DAB+. We've developed that DAB+ technology. In fact, last year, as I mentioned, there was a trial last year. From a market size point of view, this is mainly used in the EU countries. There is one country in the well, actually outside of the EU, where DAB+ is deployed 100% and FM programming has been switched off. That is Norway. We have another country like in Switzerland, where it's widely used. There's an increase in coverage, but in fact, we have not spoken much about it during the presentation. There is backwards compatibility in the sense that we can also, in fact, ingest classical FM signals. We don't believe this is such a good idea, because you cannot offer a large number of channels, but in fact, we can also support FM and have a small number of channels. Now, for the other part of the question, we are able to support other digital standards as well, but that requires some modification of the platform. The underlying architecture and principle is flexible, but as I said today, our focus for the existing product is DAB+. So we are kind of, with the DAB+ thing, focus on EU. Australia also has that service. So that service will uninterrupted service will only be viable in those countries.
Okay, and the final question that has come in is whether there are any challenges with high-speed rail that goes through a number of countries. Obviously, you know, every country has different services. So how does that impact the service?
We don't actually see this today. I mean, as I said, it all depends which countries you're going through and what actually what type of transmission technology is used. For as long as it is within Europe, I don't see for audio signals. I don't see a challenge. If we would have used TV, this is the reason why we are not yet offering TV. Obviously, if I use the TV encoding standards, it would not work in high speed. And this is the reason why we offer radio and not live TV at this stage. So I don't see issue in terms of supporting high-speed rail going through different countries in Europe. And I believe we're ready for the challenge. This should work. There's not a technical limitation. Yeah. Full stop.
Okay.
You know, if we look at countries where there is, let's say, only FM available right now, then obviously I'm limited to what is available.
Sorry. So that was the final question. So thank you for everyone for tuning in. If you want to get in touch with the PaxLife team, their contact details are there. And we will make this webinar available online tomorrow. So it will be able to watch again and you can share it with colleagues as well. So thanks everyone for joining and thank you PaxLife for hosting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.